of this franchise, most specifically Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor. And we can play Fix My Franchise all we want, but usually these things come down to one simple fact. Stop telling us the same story over and over again. Try something new. Learn from Joker, which is about to cross $1 billion in box office. And no, I don't mean give us dark and gritty everything, as you did with Christopher Nolan's success of Dark Knight. No, I mean take something familiar, but tell it to us in a completely different way, or give us something completely different based off of what you've already given us in the past. Give us something new, for the same old story we're going to be reading about is how your franchise is now DOA. Secrets of the Sire starts now. Secrets of the Sire. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Secrets of the Sire. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Sire Studios digital network. That's secretsofthesire.com, youtube.com/Sire Studios, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire, and twitch.tv/Secrets of the Sire. You can download our podcast on all major podcasting apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeart Radio, Soundcloud, and more. Tonight, Terminator's Dark Fate, which is the box office, Watchmen Watch Episode 3, and we welcome writer Todd Black on to spin the racks. I am your host, Michael Dolce, joined as always by my co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Hassan Godwin, Lord of the live stream. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm all right.
I kind of went like Irish brogue, like Lucky Charms leprechaun there.
Yeah.
Lord of the live stream. Yeah.
Yeah. I decided not to copy you.
It's a good look.
I decided it was in my best interest.
It's a good move. I think that's a win altogether.
Yeah.
So, how are you on this fine Wednesday night?
I'm good. Weather's getting cold.
You know what's killing me is daylight savings time. Daylight savings time. This was the first week where it's like dark at 5 o'clock, which I don't like. That's A, number one. B, number two, my kids are programmed to wake up an hour before. So they would be waking up maybe at 6 o'clock. If I'm lucky, I get them up at 6 o'clock. They are now waking up at 5 o'clock this week. And it'll be a week of very little sleep for me.
I'm sorry.
I can tell you have
Very sorry.
Great pity. And
I said I was sorry. I don't know what I could do. You know?
Emote. I want you to emote.
I don't know. I don't have any emotions, as has been said many times. So I don't know why you would come to me with that complaint, because there's nothing I can do for you.
I know. All right. Well, let's jump right into it. We are going to jump into some Sire bites, starting with Into the Spiderverse sequel release date. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse won't be catching cobwebs. This is from the Wrap. After teasing fans on Twitter Thursday evening, Sony Pictures Animation confirmed Friday that the buzzy hero flick will get a sequel set to be released on April 8th, 2022. The announcement was bolstered by subsequent tweets showing 2022 flashing in a GIF foreground. It wasn't immediately clear what the sequel's title will be. Spider-Verse, as you know, won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and was hailed by many critics, including the New York Post, where I got this article, as the best Spider-Man movie yet. Your thoughts? Into the Spider-Verse? Are we excited? Is this going to be the Spider-Gwen story? Like, what are your predictions? Sure to go wrong.
Sure to go wrong. I don't know. It's going to be a good movie. That's my prediction. Sure to go wrong.
Isn't it funny though? Because you could sit there and say, like, Sony Pictures, we have no faith in you to do your own Spider-Man movie. But the animated Spider-Man, you got this.
They won an Academy Award their first time out. That's pretty much indication that you should give them the benefit of the doubt right there.
I would hope so.
Right? You know, I mean, look, and it's an animated movie. It did way better than an animated movie was supposed to do, you know, even though it did, you know, and it was a good movie. It was really a great movie.
Yeah.
Visually beautiful, visually amazing. Supposedly this one's supposed to be about Miles and Gwen, you know, so that'll be good. As long as they're sticking with their main character and, you know, not, you know, going to sideline anybody. That's kind of cool. So I'm looking
Wouldn't
forward
that
to
be
it.
amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing if they did? What are you looking forward
Not
to
really.
more?
That's not really the superlative I would use.
Oh, I don't mean like amazing. Like
I know. I'm just making my point as subtly as humanly possible.
Okay. What are you looking forward to more, Into the Spider-Verse or the next Tom Holland Spider-Man?
Into Spider-Verse. Pretty easy.
No, see,
And I don't mind Tom Holland Spider-Man, but I mean, who knows when that's going to be, and who knows what that's going to be a lot about. And those movies have been great, but they haven't blown me away. You know, they've been really good, solid movies, and I've enjoyed them immensely. But I was blown away by Into the Spider-Verse. I felt about Into the Spider-Verse the way I felt about Sam Raimi's second Spider-Man.
Okay.
You know, where I was like, wow, you know, because I was not a big fan of the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just felt it was tonally off. The beats were off. The Danny Elfman soundtrack, you know, didn't quite gel with the visuals.
Yeah.
So there was a lot I felt with. I mean, I've since made a lot of peace with that movie. I've since you know, been able to enjoy that movie. But when I first saw it, I was one of the few, because a lot of people were on board, rightfully so, because it was a well done superhero movie. And I wasn't a big fan.
I disliked his Mary Jane. Kirsten Dunst was useless in those movies, and I was not a big fan of that. And and some of the dialogue was cheesy, but it was cool to see a successful visual of Spider-Man in Sam Raimi's first movie. The second movie, we both agree, is one of the greatest comic movies of all time. But getting back to Spider-Verse versus...
And basically, when the second Spider-Man came out, I walked away from that convinced that Sam Raimi knew what he was doing. It was that he was the right person making Spider-Man movies. Just to finish my anecdote from earlier.
Yeah, I've had this debate though, right? And this is talking about Spider-Verse versus the new Tom Holland Spider-Man. I guess Spider-Man 3, however you want to call it, right? In the 90s, I used to argue that while The Simpsons, I think, is more universally funnier, Seinfeld to me was a greater accomplishment because it's live action, right? And it was actually better written because of the limitations of not being animation. Whereas The Simpsons, you know, the monorail episode, for example, like you couldn't do that on TV, right? You could only do that as a cartoon. I feel the exact same way.
About.
You've never seen the monorail episode of Simpsons?
I don't watch The Simpsons.
This is going way back.
I don't watch The Simpsons.
Oh my gosh. All right.
It could go as early as you want it to. I don't watch The Simpsons.
Okay. Go watch the season with Conan O'Brien as the writer. I think it was like season 4 or 5. It's fantastic.
No.
It was tremendous.
No.
But my point being was that it's a greater accomplishment, I think, when a live action movie, although nowadays with CGI that gap is kind of closing, can pull off the excitement for me or the execution for me rather than the animated. The animated to me is like you could do whatever you want. It's almost cheating. And while groundbreaking as Into the Spider-Verse was, I was so impressed, especially with the last Far From Home, that I think I would always lean toward I'm looking forward to seeing a Tom Holland Spider-Man versus the cartoon one. Just because.
Okay.
Just
good
because.
For you.
It is good for me, and it's good for everyone else.
Good for you.
Who just listened to me. Superman and Lois TV series in the works at the CW. This is according to the Hollywood Reporter. Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch will reprise their roles for the potential Arrowverse spinoff in the sky.
Replacement. Spinoff / replacement.
Yeah. Another Arrowverse TV series in the works. Superman and Lois is the title, featuring Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch. Former Flash showrunner Todd Helbing will pen the script and executive produce. The drama is described as revolving around the world's most famous superhero and comics' most famous journalists as they deal with the stress, pressures, and complexities that come with being working parents in today's society. So I'm not up on the continuity of the CW Superman. But they got a kid?
I guess. I don't.
Is that what
that's on? I guess he would be on. Is that
like the Brandon Routh Superman from 2006, where they have a kid together? Are they gleaning off of that? Is Bryan Singer's presence felt even today? I doubt it. I think everything obviously is.
I hope you're not asking me because I do not know. I said as I attempted to answer, I guess that would be from, I guess that is a Superman that originated on the Supergirl television show.
Yeah.
In which case, I guess because I don't remember ever seeing a Lois, so that would be in one of the crossover, probably one of the big year event crossovers, which I have not seen.
Yeah.
So I guess they have a kid.
Yeah.
I guess that would be interesting. I mean, that's an angle of a television show about Superman that they haven't yet done. Is that they have and then Superman does have a son in the comic books, so Superman and Batman. So that is in canon.
Is the CW just basically just all DC shows now? Like they have Riverdale.
I guess
too.
so. I know. I don't really watch it too much, but yeah, they've got it. But I mean, they're getting rid of one. I mean, they're losing Arrow, and I think the Superman one is Superman and Lois, not to be confused with Lois and Clark, is replacing Arrow. I'm pretty sure. So I mean, even though yes, they are overabundant in DC superhero television shows.
They're apparently also working on a second,
but they're not adding new ones. The number's going to be even.
Yeah. Well, no, but in 2021, they're readying a female-focused Arrow spin-off starring Catherine McNamara, Katie Cassidy, and Juliana Harkavy, as the network is prepping for the next wave of its DC Comics franchise.
Yeah, we'll see if everybody's still interested in 2021. That's a ways away.
I know.
We'll see.
Talking about stuff that people are not interested in brings us to our first segment, Terminator Tanks. This is from Hollywood Reporter. Terminator Dark Fate crashes and burns. Skydance, Paramount, and Fox Disney's Terminator Dark Fate reboot, which hoped to revive the franchise after 3 failed attempts, bombed in its domestic box office debut over the weekend with $29 million, well behind expectations, though still bowing at number 1. The movie is not likely to be rescued at the foreign box office, where it finished Sunday with an offshore tally of $94.6 million.
Yeah. They're saying in order for the movie to break even, it needs to make $450 million, and I think that's domestic, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it says $120 million. That's how much partners Skydance, Paramount, and 20th Century Fox, which each put up 30%, stands to lose. They each stand to lose $120 million. China's Tencent has a 10% stake. The red ink could end up at $130 million if the pick doesn't hold internationally. Conversely, if the losses could be closer to 110, it does have some strong legs over offshore. Skydance is the one that's most particularly hit because they spent tens of millions trying to reboot the James Cameron series. It's also a blow for Paramount, which needs franchises. What does the future hold? James Cameron has plotted out a trilogy, now in doubt given the film's soft performance. But what if it lived on as a TV series? That is something that they are talking about.
They tried that with what was the Terminator series that they had on?
I know they had the Christian
Sarah
Bale
Connor
movies.
Chronicles.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that was a long time ago, though.
With Lena Headey.
Yeah.
With Cersei Lannister.
Oh, wow, yeah. I forgot all about that. But that actually lasted for 2-3 seasons. It wasn't like a one and done.
Two long seasons. But that's the thing. That's how... That is what the problem is. Terminator's been around for a long time. It has a lot of false starts. They've been trying to reboot the same idea over and over and over again. And I think this time around, people are just not interested. It had a clever premise this time, or an attempt at a clever premise, but it was the same damn thing.
It was exactly the same. Do you know what's so funny?
Which is what I told you weeks ago when you kept suggesting that we reviewed a movie, and I was like, it's going to be the same damn thing.
I thought that this was an opportunity. You have in a day and age when you are looking when the strong female lead character is basically what every new project is, right? Every new project is we're going to have a strong female lead. You have the ultimate original icon for strong female leads in Sarah Connor, and you waste Linda Hamilton bringing her back completely. Like, first of all, let's start off with the crux of the movie.
Hold on.
Got
I will slightly disagree with that. I think it was a fine movie. I think it was an okay movie.
I liked it when it was called T2. I liked it when it was called T1. Like, I liked it when it was every single Terminator movie, though. Like, to me,
how you feel, but I'm just saying it's I think it's clunky. It's a little. It was narratively clunky, but it was as sharp as any of these Terminator movies are going to get. I mean, the Terminator movies have been so bad that to get something that is semi-coherent was a step ahead. Along with the fact that, as I had said many years ago, at least this one had like kind of ramifications of T2. It acknowledged the accomplishments of T2 to the point where they stopped the war and that they changed the future.
But that created the biggest plot hole to begin with. So first of all, let's just say it's a spoiler-filled review. So if you haven't seen it yet, but you probably shouldn't. It's not very good. But at the very beginning, and this is unfortunate for me. I actually ruined this for myself by reading some reviews.
Well, hold on. Don't.
Yeah.
Maybe don't then.
All right.
But I'm just saying it has it. My point is, previous times, everyone has said Judgment Day is inevitable, which ruins the premise.
Yes,
ruined the premise of each and every one of those movies, because if Judgment Day was inevitable and the machines would rise and take over, why were the machines spending so much effort sending machines back in time?
Yes,
to make sure that they rose up and took over. I mean, part of it is to destroy John Connor, the Connor family. In order to, yada, yada, yada. But also, I mean, look, Terminator doesn't work on so many levels in and of itself, because if you can go back in time and kill John Connor and thus erase him from your timeline, which is the science that everyone's using, then once they stop the war, John Connor should have disappeared in the first place, because Kyle Reese would not have had to come back in time to bother John Connor in the first place.
That was always a mind F. There's no question about that. I agree with that. In this particular film, and again, spoilers, they kill John Connor. I did. It doesn't matter. It's the first 5 minutes. It's our spoiler-filled review.
Yeah, but I said, why don't we not?
But I want to. Because I want to ask this question to you. By killing John Connor, first of all, by stopping the future, how is there why is Arnold Schwarzenegger even there in 1998? It doesn't make sense to me. 1997's Judgment Day. In 1998, Arnold Schwarzenegger pops up out of nowhere, catches them all up.
He was another Terminator. They had sent a number of them back. They sent the T2.
Okay. So they sent a whole bunch.
So they sent a whole bunch back, and then throughout they were programmed to show up incrementally, at various different points in history in case the others missed. So even though they destroyed, they stopped Skynet from happening, since they were all sent at once, programmed to show up at various different times, they were still going to show up, even though the future they were coming from didn't exist anymore.
How do they catch them off guard, though? Then don't they know they're coming if they've been coming at them this whole time?
They didn't know that they hadn't been up to then. That was the first one that tipped them off into realizing that there were going to be many others.
But that does not explain then. So here's the other problem too, right? That I have with the premise of the film though too, is that if you killed John Connor, but then Daniela or Danny, named after Game of Thrones, in my head, Danny becomes the next John Connor. Like, wouldn't the robots kind of understand that this logic is flawed, and that if you keep killing one of them, that another one's just going to take their place? And second of all,
but they already explained it. They explained that by the Terminator actually having a conversation with the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator, where he says, "I'm from a different future, and I already know this doesn't work." So the robots from the new future don't have that information.
I know, but and it's I don't know. It was the same thing
Well, yeah, we're not
Again,
arguing that. You're asking me. Are you asking me questions about this one, or are you just saying it doesn't work? Because we already agreed it doesn't work. But if you're asking me, I'm not whatever answers you're going to ask me for. I'm not going to be revealing anything.
No,
brand new.
I know. It's just all it did was basically it actually almost backs up your point of saying this is. It's inevitable. Even when it's not inevitable, now it's just a new bunch of robots who also happen to build Terminator machines, who also happen to use the exact same technology as Skynet. And it's like, well, we're called Legion now. I forget which movie this reminds me of, where it was just actually kind of reminds me of Crystal Skull, where they're like, we're not aliens, we're interdimensional beings. And it's like, okay, you're aliens. Yeah, you're not Skynet, but you're Legion. Like, what's the difference? There's no difference. You're basically retelling us. This was the Force Awakens for the Terminator franchise, except we didn't need a Force Awakens for Terminator franchise. We need something new. We need something that's going to give us.
I don't know if we need anything new. I don't think we need any more Terminator movies. We're not going to accept anything new. Something new would come out and we'd be like, I don't know. Doesn't really mesh with the mythology, kind of ruins the mythology or whatever. We're learning from the Star Wars thing that it really doesn't work when you keep trying to stretch a story. The whole reason that we care about all these characters in these stories is because their actions have consequences. Consequences have ramifications, blah, 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 because the characters are real to us, and that, and they're whatever, however they go about their business has, ripple effects, and it, ripples out and stuff like that. And if you're going to just every time the credits roll, you're going to reboot it and then bring up another one. This was the argument, even though I agree that House of X and Powers of X is a really well written series.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same argument I have. If you're going to keep rebooting these things, then you're going to lessen the impact of each and every iteration that you come up with, which is what basically the Terminator is running into. If there's no consequence, if we can't win and we never quite lose, then who cares? People are going to stop caring. Yeah. Especially if you're going to request to keep putting quarters in the machine. Please come back, pay us again, come back and see it again. The visuals are great, the fighting is great, the augmented human is great. Some of the action sequences were great, but it's just a tired concept. Yeah. It's a really tired, and it was tired.
But that's the thing, it's tired.
It was a retired concept when you got the Matrix. I think the Matrix was a natural evolution to the Terminator. It expanded
might be the deepest
universe.
Thing you've ever said.
No,
I think so.
I say way deeper things than that. But it expanded the universe.
That I paid attention to.
Yeah, well, that's not my fault. You don't pay attention. You need Ritalin. But anyway, so it's got way.
Where am I?
It expanded the universe exponentially. It incorporated its own mythology and all this other stuff, and it just took the ball and ran with it. And then you're going to bring us back to Terminator, where we're going to send another Terminator that is, now not only that, it doesn't even pay attention to its own mythology, and even Cameron's not paying attention to his own mythology, because in the very, and this is terrible nerd moment right now. Kyle Reese said that they won the war in the first Terminator, that they destroyed Skynet and they destroyed the machine, and just as they got to the end of whatever the complex is, the Terminator went back in time. It was a desperate act from the machine to go back in time to kill John Connor so that they could avoid losing. The whole reason they wanted to send John Connor back in time is because they already lost. Skynet lost. Mm-hmm. So where did T-1000 come from?
Yeah.
So that this is what I'm talking about. It already had blown its own mythology, and nobody cared because Cameron is a great filmmaker, and he's innovative, and he came out with the liquid metal thing, and everybody, and I mean, look, I was
in
included.
1991,
everybody was included. No one got away from that one. No one walked away from that one thumbing their nose at Terminator or James Cameron. Okay, that was back in the day. Cameron owned. So and we gave him those two. As soon as Rise of the Machines came into everybody, okay, it's a cash grab. Okay, now Terminator's a woman. Now she's made of nanites. Now she's wait a minute. How does this machine keep sending these super advanced? How did they win the war if you've got these kind of Terminators running around in real time? Right? And then that, I don't know, that woof. Oh, that
what, the Christian Bale one?
The Christian Bale one was God.
But you know what? I gotta give credit.
Ow.
I give credit because they
Terminator
were trying
Terminator motorcycles.
No,
Mike.
I get it, but they were trying to do something different with the story. They were trying to put this in the future, which I thought was something different.
You asked me what would save the franchise, right?
Well, actually, I haven't yet. I'm going to say, and here we go. Great segue. Look at you go. I will segue into this. How would you fix my franchise? How would you fix this Terminator franchise?
You would have had to start with this one. Everybody's going about their business. The movie starts exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Cut out the beginning with the John Connor thing. I don't think you need to kill John Connor off. Portals open up and Terminators just come out of the future. Hundreds of them. And they want to hasten the apocalypse. Change the dynamic of everything. And then the whole timeline is screwed up, and now you have to piece it together a puzzle of, wait a minute, when did this all start? You got Sarah Connor's like, we stopped the war, so where are these things coming from? Then you can still have Grace, you can still have an augmented human come back in time. She could be your
she was fantastic. Yeah, she was fantastic.
She could be your info dump. She'll explain exactly what happened in the future, whatever, and then you realize, okay, the inevitability is that the thing we're fighting against, the inevitability is that eventually man is just going to hand over his fate to, in the constant quest to be comfortable, to be pampered, and how man is going to hand over his agency and his dominance over the world to machines, to whoever can work for him and do better.
Right.
And then machines are going to rise up and blah. So it's just it's an inevitability there. And then the through line of it is this society has been destroyed. We have to stop the machines, but we're going to let the machines destroy society. So when we start over, we'll start over. That's the only way we could. The only way we could deal with this is to start society over again with learning the right lessons, because the society that we lived in, the society we were part of, was destined to destroy itself. So the only thing we could do is imbue the new society, the new mankind with a base of morality that will keep us from annihilating ourselves, right? But in the meantime, you got a couple 100,000 or maybe 1 million Terminators that you have to deal with that just came through the portal. And then not only do we get to see the war that they were supposed to show us in the Christian Bale, but you also get the shock factor of these guys just showed up out of nowhere. They came out of a portal. You get to show the fall of society, the fall of mankind, the disaster porn that everybody loves. You get the Terminators, you get the flying machines, you get the entire milieu of this horrible future. You get to flip the script, get rid of John Connor. You still get Sarah Connor in the mix somehow. You still get your augmented human being. You can still have Arnold Schwarzenegger there if you want him. All of these things, but I mean the whole situation would be drastically different. It wouldn't be another chase movie with one Terminator just running. And look, the new Terminator was pretty cool. I mean, he did some interesting things. They upgraded it so he didn't speak like Ralphie the robot.
Yeah.
He actually knew how to reason with people. He actually joked around. He actually tried to reason with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
They also showed Arnold Schwarzenegger's model after 30 years had evolved to the point where he was anecdotal and he could make, he could do things. So those things were interesting. But then they decided, okay, let's throw in interesting character tidbits, but let's not do anything drastic to the storyline.
There's nothing with the storyline. I know, there's nothing. It's like, stop. You went into greater depth than I did in terms of fixing my franchise. I was going to say, stop retelling the same stories. I don't need to hear like, oh, well, how did you come back? We stopped the future. Well, it was cybersecurity warfare, and we built AI for that. So, okay, so just AI is just going to continually come back in time, and their plan is always going to be to go back in time. Like they're freaking AI, It's and then the big reveal, obviously. And look, this is the thing.
I got you one better than that. Before you go into depth about why is the AI always want to destroy mankind?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, why is it just, we must destroy man? It's like, wait a minute.
It's inevitable.
That's another mankind arrogance that, that it would want to, it would be funny, and I'm not trying to upstage. It would be funny for once if an AI came and started to build its own society and just ignored us. And we're like, hey, aren't you
I have a plot line for a comic book.
That's supposed to be building our VCRs and
it's
stuff?
It's similar to that, but it's not that. It's not that. But yeah, no. Stop retelling the same stories. I don't need, and I don't need another chase movie. I did not need to see T2 again upgraded. I didn't need to see the big reveal be.
You didn't need to see Admiral Holdo trying to get away from the First Order.
I didn't need that. I didn't need
space chase.
I didn't need to see Sarah Connor be like, "You're just some womb for some man," and then it's like, "Oh, what? It could be a woman." Well, Sarah Connor, you are like the greatest female icon, at least in my generation. How is this a big reveal? Like, why is it?
Listen, people don't know how to, and I'm convinced of this stuff. This is why, and Robert Burnett, who does Robservations or whatever, I watch his show sometimes. Disagree with most of what he says, but he says such great things. He says it in such great ways. But he points out Creed as a great example of rebooting a franchise, and adding to it, because the franchise adds to the original as it's adding on, as it's tacking on more, more of a revenue stream for the future, right? It's giving you more characters. It's not robbing the old characters. It's admiring and adhering to the legend that was laid down, because, Michael B. Jordan had reverence for both Apollo and Rocky, right? And you see that the fighting arena, the fighting commission, the board had reverence for both Rocky and Apollo. Even his girlfriend, I forget her name, but Valkyrie.
Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, even Tessa Thompson knew Rocky. She was, she's like, oh my God, Rocky? Everybody. I mean, it just did everything it could not to sideline the icon that we had been following, for this entire franchise, but to make him a part of it, make him an invested part of it. So anyone who invested in Rocky for the last 6 movies previous would be comfortable at least investing in this new franchise and these new characters. If they had done what these so-called new generation of writers had done, it seemed the only note that they seem to be able to play is to murder all previous characters to get you emotionally invested, and then expect you to latch on to these new characters. But no, they don't know how to write. So these new characters are 2-dimensional. So you've just murdered our previous, heroes, and you give us these 2-dimensional cardboard cutouts of these, of these templates, of these stereotypes, and then we're supposed to follow them. And that's one of the reasons these things fall apart. You got to do the due diligence. You have to respect what came before it. You have to respect the characters that came before. And if you want to remove them, you have to give us a damn good reason as to why these characters are no longer going to be part of our franchise. You can't just stab Han Solo and throw him off a bridge into a bottomless pit, and then 2 movies later tell us, oh, his son is worthy of being redeemed.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, because you're watching, it's like, wait, he killed his father to prove that he was evil because he wants to be evil because reasons,
That's not important. All right, how would you guys do it? How would you fix the Terminator franchise? Leave some comments. You can always comment after the fact as well if you go onto our Facebook page and check out the video, or our YouTube page and check out the video. When we come back, we do our Watchmen Watch, episode 3. We're going to give a little brief rundown. Really, really, I like it a lot. Hassan's just being Hassan. When we come back. Check out the all-new Sire Studios website, SireStudiosInc.com. Find all your back issues for The Sire, Mainstream, Undone, and more. And be on the lookout for news and announcements, convention appearances, and brand new podcasts coming to Sire Studios. That address again is SireStudiosInc.com. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Coming to you live Wednesday nights, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And you can download us on all major podcasting apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast that's this awesome, which is only Secrets of the Sire. No other podcast is this awesome. You can find us. But we are also brought to you by all of our beloved patrons, dedicated fans Tom Osa, Craig Caruso, Einar Peterson, Matt Beyer, Ashley Haikai, Omar Morales, Brian Phillips, Steve Ovecki, Program Director Stephanie Dolce, and as always, our Uber fan, Christina Dolce. Hassan took offense to my Hassan being Hassan comment, but that's okay, because I wasn't trying to offend you. I was literally calling out that you have grave reservations as we've gotten into episode 3 of Watchmen. This is our Watchmen Watch.
The only thing I said to you...
Watchmen Watch.
Stop it. The only thing I said to you was... Yeah, it was a terrible soundbite.
Watchmen Watch. I'll put some reverb behind that. It'll be great. Edit it out. Go ahead. All that you said to me.
As soon as I open my mouth, you're gonna do the Watchmen.
No, I'm not. I'm done. But now I'm gonna do it because you said that. Actually, I was not thinking of doing that.
I'm not gonna say anything.
All right. Episode 3 of Watchmen to me was very, very interesting, and I'll tell you why. It was our first.
Don't care.
Watchmen Watch. Thank you guys for coming to the show. It's been a great show. It's our first intersection of the graphic novel characters with the new characters that Damon Lindelof created. In the previews, you see FBI agent Detective Blake, and you're like, oh, this is a relative of the comedian. No, it's actually Laurie Silk Spectre, aged and cast beautifully with Jean Smart, right? I think that's her name, is Jean Smart. She's been in, she was in 24 too. I mean, it's funny because she was in Designing Women. So you wouldn't necessarily think of her as like this badass FBI agent, but if you were a fan of 24, which I was, she was in that show, and she kind of resculpted her. She broke the mold of being a comedic actor and got into this, heavy world of like politics and espionage, and she cut her swath in 24. So to have her, great casting. And this is the first time we actually get to really, we've had Adrian Veidt, we've had mentions of Dr. Manhattan, but both of them are taking place in an aloof, alternate place, which we'll get into. You had a really interesting theory about Veidt, which I like. You also ruined it for me because now I think you're absolutely right. And I'm like, damn it, I think you're right. But
well, I didn't tell you. I didn't give away the situation. I just told you what a theory was.
No, I know, I agree. I know you told me your theory. Do you want to tell your theory to the audience?
No, you wouldn't. But I mean, you wouldn't understand what my theory was until you saw it anyway. So it wasn't like it was a spoiler.
No. I'm not saying it's a spoiler. I'm saying I think you're
said
right.
Spoiler though. You were accusing me of spoiling it.
No, I accused you of spoilers earlier in the day.
Me of spoiling it.
Right now, I'm not. I'm actually applauding you because I think you're right.
Right this minute, you're accusing me of spoiling it.
No, I think you're right.
You're disparaging me. You're disparaging me as a spoiler. You're calling me a spoiler.
I think you're right. That's why
I don't know.
Think you're right.
I don't know if I'm right.
Your theory is.
I honestly think that he's stuck on Mars. With Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
And he's in a reality. Dr. Manhattan's put him in this kind of and the reality is being parodied as he's on some wildlife reserve.
Yeah.
And the guy who shot at him was actually Dr. Manhattan.
Right.
It was like, hey,
I think you're right.
And that's why he's trying to get he's trying to put together a spacesuit to get off Mars.
Right.
But who knows? Maybe he's on the moon. Who knows where he is?
Yeah.
We just found out that he was frickin' Adrian Veidt, which we didn't know it. We suspected.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to say I knew it until it happened.
Sure.
I just I'm actually trying to go along with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
The narrative as they're giving it to us. It's just I'm trying to go along with it, the mysteries as they're handing it to us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to get. I understand that there's a lot of intrigue. I don't think the intrigue is going to pay off, is what I'm saying. I think the show is fine. I think what's going on. I think the mystery is. I think it is a mystery. I don't know if the mystery is interesting enough. Not to me. I acknowledge. It is a mystery. It is a solid mystery. They're piecing it together. They're giving you they're aggregating the information very cleverly. They're delineating the clues very cleverly. But I'm trying to look into the future of it,
mm-hmm.
just from a narrative perspective, just from deciphering narrative. And I don't think the reveal could possibly be as big as the build-up to it is. So, and I think that's what all the theatrics are about, is to distract you from the fact that there is no mystery. There is that the mystery is going to be very simplistic, and it's starting to annoy me. And I'm going to keep watching the show. And I'm not going to badmouth the show any more than I already have just now. Yeah. And I am not going to disparage anybody who likes the show. I think it is a well put together show. It's a very pretty show. You see where the money is.
Yep.
I like the characters. I especially like the main character. I like Miss Jupiter. I mean, I thought the wizened. Angry matriarch kind of motif is the sharp-tongued, angry middle-aged woman who seen it all and done it all and is not interested in anybody else's opinion on things. It is an old trope, but it was well done.
It's well done here because you Let me.
But I mean, I'll
preface this. It's done well because we know what she's been through to this point. She is one of the original characters. That being said, I am really curious, and if you have never read the graphic novel or not a fan, I'd love to hear your thoughts as to what you think, because all of this to me is weighted by the fact that I know the graphic novel. I know who these characters are. I know,
that's another interesting thing. I wouldn't be watching this at all if I didn't know the graphic novel.
I don't know what someone who has no context for this.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm trying to look at this as if I didn't know who this person was, would I be remotely interested in anything that she had to say? and this long phone call to Mars,
Right.
which I honestly thought was so absurd, and I think it was absurd on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was one of those things that it's so absurd it makes sense kind of things.
Right.
But it was an absurd concept reinforced with an absurd anecdote.
Yeah.
With the bookends of her telling this joke that was narrative nonsense. The joke. What I enjoyed
about it, and again, this goes back to the original question I had: is if you didn't know the graphic novel, how I don't know how you feel about this show. To me, it was like, it's the comedian's daughter. Like, this makes total sense. It's harkening back to the comedian and blah blah blah. And I was like, to me, it.
But it didn't really harken back to. I mean, it harkens back to her not.
It harkens back to his character, which we don't have. But
his character thought everything was a joke. Like he thought that everything was in such a form of disarray that it didn't make any sense to take any of it seriously. Right? That was pretty much the comedian in a nutshell. And
right.
That, violence and everything. It didn't make sense to have reverence for anything.
Right. Because
everything is such a mess. That's what the whole thing with MODOK or whatever was when so. I get that, and I get that she might have adopted that, and that's fine.
I enjoyed it for that reason. I enjoyed it because.
But I mean, I'm just saying the phone call in and of itself was like, this is not even clever. Like I was having such a problem with this, with the anecdote in and of itself. Like, this is not even. This is not even coherent. It's not cleverly mirroring the goings on in the episode or what has happened up till now. We just met her, so we don't have any context as to what she's talking about, right?
I know.
So, like, usually when you do things like that, it's kind of she's being anecdotal and she's using she's using whatever the joke is as an allegory for wherever her mental state is right now. But the allegory was so clumsy because it was clunky because we knew exactly who she was talking about. We knew what she meant.
But that's that's the question, right? Like, we knew, but if someone didn't know, is that filling in blanks?
But that's what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, that's another thing I mean. If you didn't know, we know who she's talking about, which is kind of why we were able to follow it.
Right.
If you didn't know,
I know
who she was talking about, it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
It's gibberish.
Yeah.
And then, he tries it, you theorize that he tried to drop a car. He dropped the car as an anecdote
about?
Because it's an anecdote for the brick that fell on God and killed God. And just to let her know that he was listening. He actually was paying attention to what she was saying. In theory, that's why she laughed at the end. He was listening to me.
I know.
But it's like I'm saying,
he tried to kill me.
It's mystery box it's purposeful nonsense. It's nonsense on purpose. And what our job is now is to try to piece together the few little tidbits of information that we were given, because we were given very little, if not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we are not any closer to anywhere that we were at the end of the last episode. We just have a new character to come in, so that a new character can tell us that even she doesn't understand what these what the clues are leading to and the mysteries are, right? And then we get this phone call to Mars, and we get cars falling out of the sky.
Yeah,
and we get Sally Jupiter, who's used to be a superhero, and now is a superhero vigilante who is mostly more the comedian than she was,
right.
that she with the idealistic Jupiter.
Yes.
So fine, okay. Can we move this? Can we just move the needle a little on the what's actually happening? Because we still don't. 3 episodes in. We just found out about Veidt. We don't know where he is or what he's doing. It's just plain gibberish. It's nonsense. we don't know what's going on with the chief, what's going on in Tulsa at all. We don't know really what's going on with Sally Jupiter. We don't know what's going on with the owl. We don't know. I mean, you're giving us these little strings, and I get it. Here's my problem: isn't how they're piecing it together. My problem is I'll go on record. I guarantee you the mystery, when it reveals itself, will not be as heavy as what they're building it up to. This is because
you figured it out already. He's on Mars.
This is the reason for all the theatrics that we're getting. We're getting all these theatrics because they're trying to blind us from the fact that they don't really have a mystery here. And I'm being cynical. And I like the show. I know how I sound. I sound like one of these toxic fans.
Hassan being Hassan. All right. Let us know what you think.
Hassan being Hassan is someone who makes careful calculations and carefully assesses the information that he's being given. Then yes, I am Hassan being Hassan. I'm very proud of it.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Keep eating those Cheerios, my friend. Keep eating those cornflakes.
Watch. All right, when we come back, we go spinning the racks with Todd Black. I'm everything my 19-year-old self fought hard to not be.
Yes, you are
It's like 19-year-old self is like,
you've become what you hate. You've become the enemy.
19-year-old self, don't sell out. Yeah, 39-year-old self is like,
sell out every night.
Out. Like, sell it out, baby.
First sign of trouble, sell out.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every week. We go spinning the racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
We've got Todd Black on. He's going to come spin the racks with us. Todd, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I don't like how spin the racks sounds. That sounds weird. But,
people say that all the time. I don't know why, but yeah,
people say it all the time. Where do you live?
I don't know. We had somebody, I forget. I think it was actually Michael Bacon go spin the rats. Who's spinning the rats? And we're like, no, it's racks.
It's spin racks.
Like
it's
the
just
comic book,
like a comic rack.
Comic book racks. You are a comic book writer, a novel writer, and a creator of various things. Why don't you give the audience at home a quick 30-second bio of all the cool stuff that you do?
Well, I am an indie comic writer and novel writer. Over the course of my now 6-year career, I have written about 30 different comic issues, 5 novels, a couple anthologies, and I'm still trying to work.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's about right. That's about right. You have a Kickstarter going on right now. It is called Tokyo Blade Detectives. What is the elevator pitch for that?
Oh, wasn't ready.
Can you hear me or no? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's cutting in and out. It's weird.
Okay.
Technology hates me. This is a known
technology.
fact of my life.
You have a Kickstarter going on right now. It's called Tokyo Blade Detectives. Give us the 30-second elevator pitch for that Kickstarter.
It's Japan 200 years in the future. The country has been ravaged by all sorts of wars, a reconstruction, and a further use of technology. But there is one law that everyone has to follow. No guns allowed. So in a land where guns are outlawed, only the blade can rule.
Okay. Very anime feature. We have that. We have it actually showing on the screen as we're talking to you. Is a lot of your work anime, or is this your first anime influenced book?
This is my first anime influenced work. I started out with a very traditional, like Marvel DC style kind of thing with Guardians, which is my superhero comic. Then I went to the more of like, I guess, artistic with fantasy with Home. I went Disney Pixar with 10,000 Miles, and then now with Tokyo Blade Detectives, I totally wanted to go full on anime.
Okay.
I was like, how can I make an anime cartoon like in a comic? And so,
do you think that's actually given you made the book more attractive on Kickstarter?
To me, yes, because it to me anyway, because yeah, you have all these great artists out there. There's so many great Kickstarters out there, especially in the comics realm. But with the anime, I feel it just has that kind of a visual edge. And if you look at the first 5 pages of the Kickstarter, there's this really fun laser sword fight scene that is just so flashy and like anime-esque. You can almost like see the movements as the panels go on, and that just is really attractive to me.
I get this question a lot, and it's from people that want to be doing Kickstarters, or they want to be doing all this stuff. Where do you find your artists? How did you hook up with the art team for your book right here?
Internet. No, and the ironic thing is that that's people get shocked by that, but because of things like Twitter and Facebook and all these dedicated art sites, there are so many ways you can find an artist. Like, well, my first artist for Comic Book with Guardians, I found via this website, which is now defunct. But I was able to just post an art posting on there, and I found my guy Alex. And then with Tokyo Blade Detectives, my main artist is Lam Vuvan from Vietnam, of all places. And he was on a Facebook group connecting comic book writers and artists or something like that. And I just said, here's what I need, here's what I'm offering, here's what we're doing.
Sure.
Posting your portfolio, and like 40 people not pledged, but posted their portfolio and said, hey, we're willing to work with you. And sometimes it's just that easy. You just have to know where to look.
Was it tough actually picking out between the artists that posted? Because I've actually done posts like that, and like, I don't know, for me, I end up finding maybe like 2 or 3 where I'm like, no, these guys are good, or this person's good, and the rest is like, oh wow, not for me.
That is I think that's writers, and I know you'll appreciate this. Writers sometimes get a lot less credit for certain things that they do, and when they're actually like making their own comic, they're the ones who say, this is the art style that I need. I had a picture of Tokyo Blade Detectives in my head. I knew via one of my other artists actually who made the cover for the book what I needed, the style I wanted. But finding an artist who could do that sequentially took nearly 2 years. I had the idea in 2016. I started thinking of how to work the idea in 2017. 2018, I thought I had the guy, and then because he drew this beautiful piece of concept art of our main character Miko, and then I was like, okay, let's get to sequential art, and it just wasn't the same. I'm like, how did we go from here to here? And so I stopped for like 7 months, and then I'm like, because I was working on something else, and I'm like, no, I have to get this done. And so found it, and I finally found Lam. It took a little doing, and I do have them tweak some things.
Sure.
But that's just the collaboration element. But I was so relieved. I was like, finally!
It's amazing to me how many times we've done like portfolio reviews, or we've done, how-tos, and the number one lesson is show me sequentials. I mean, and I literally did a post recently on Facebook. I'm just like, hey, artists out there, send me your portfolios. I'd love to see what you got. And I would say more than half the people sent me just pinups, and I'm like, no, I'm not looking for pinups. And it's like, do you have sequentials? And then you see the sequentials. It's not easy. It's just not easy.
No,
I think Hassan.
Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, Hassan, I think you even said it's like just way easier to be like a cover artist or like a commission artist than it is to be.
It's way easier to be a cover artist or to do pinups and stuff like that. Sequential work is just really hard. It's a science. A lot of people don't even understand it's a science. People think it's just one, follow one panel after another panel after another panel. But I mean, some people don't even have command of action, right? So there's a technique to display action, to actually depict action that adheres to your strengths. There are ways to do everything. Like if you follow, some artists do follow through, like very simplistically, a punch. Like if one character is punching another character, some people will depict the punch before the fist connects, and that plays to their strength. Some people will depict the punch connecting, and then some people will depict it with both people reacting after the blow is struck. Right? But each one of them is right. Each one of them can work, but it's a kind of science to know exactly which one works in which sequence. And a lot of people just don't understand that's something you have to learn.
And some people don't even understand that you have to show sequentials because we're hiring people to we're hiring you to draw a comic.
But people don't even know how to do sequentials.
I know.
That's the thing. A lot of times you will learn, most people who want to do comic books are learning comic books from reading comic books. They're not taking classes. They're not being tutored. They don't have teachers telling them exactly how to format a page. That's page design. That's graphic design. Basically,
I think also another thing that, and I'm not saying this is an insult on artist alleys, but if you go to an artist alley of like a major comic con, you're gonna see like table after table after table of just like what Michael said, the pinups or like the stylized character art, and they go, "Oh, I can do that," and then they will, and that's great, and you can rock that so hard. But then you try and transfer that to sequentials, and it's like, "Oh, I don't need that kind of shading. Oh, that's not what the movements. I have to do movement now." I loved your description of it being a science because that's very, very true. And just like science, there's many ways to get to the conclusion of your theory. In this case, the page, but how it fits with the script. Is very important, and sometimes people just don't understand that.
There's no one right way to do it, but there's 1,000 wrong ways to do it. Yes, that's the problem.
The number one wrong way: don't have anything to show us. That's that's the number one way not to do it. How many Kickstarters is this for you? Is this your first Kickstarter you've ever done?
This is if we're going by all-time Kickstarters, this is my 9th.
Wow. Okay, so you're a veteran.
Well, that's complicated. When I started Kickstarter, I was kind of an idiot. Okay. I saw it as, I can just get money to do what I want. So I literally ran a project. I do not know how this got approved. My very first Kickstarter project was called The Next Stan Lee, because I was such an idiot that I thought, I can make all these kinds of comics and stuff. And so I asked for like $500 to make. I don't even remember what I was offering. How did it get approved? Then the second one was when I was like, okay, gotta be more serious about this. And so I laid out what I did. I actually got money this time around. That was nice, but it failed. The third one was for my first comic book series, Guardians. I was trying to continue the series. I thought Kickstarter would be my way in. It failed. I also don't know why that one didn't. Maybe it was just my promotion. I really don't know. But then I started doing Kickstarters for my miniseries Home. And that one got 5 successful Kickstarters. Then I did a graphic novel called 10,000 Miles, and that one was my most successful Kickstarter. And now I'm doing Tokyo, so that makes me 10, actually.
Wow.
Ugh. Yeah.
How stressful is running a Kickstarter?
That's a good question. How do I put this in the simplest way? No, seriously, it's stressful. Like when I did Home, more than any of my other Kickstarters, I wanted Home to succeed. And the first one I was asking for $2,500 for just the first issue, among other rewards and all that. And I was like, I've got to do everything I can to make this work. So I went to every comic book site I thought I could go on. I went to all the podcasts. I was doing Comic-Cons at this time, so I was networking. I actually met a good friend by getting her involved into Home. And it was just like, that got it to work. And I'm like, okay, now we got to do this again. And I'm like, okay, well, all the same backers come over to issue 2. And ironically, some of them didn't. But by that time, I also had Home #1 to offer, so that was able to get new people into the fold.
Sure.
Yeah, 10,000 Miles was, a graphic novel, 73 pages, because I was an idiot and misnumbered a page. And, it's true. I'm like, wait a minute, why is 67 twice? Dang it! But we made it work. But, that one was, I was asking for $3,000 because that was a bigger book. And I got to fund all these pages. And, even now, after all my success, I am still stressing so hard. Like, my first day for Tokyo Blade Detectives, I set a record for myself of like over $700.
That's great.
And it was awesome.
Congratulations.
Then the second day, thank you. Then the second day I got about, 250-esque. I was really close to 1,000. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Then on Sunday, November 3rd, which was my birthday, I had all of 3 backers. Thank you. I had 3 backers all day. And one of them was for $1. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. Like the dog with the room on fire. This is fine. This is fine. we still got 25 days to go, Todd. And then the November 4th happened, and it's like, I've had 4 backers all day, and I'm like, this is still fine. We're at over $1,100 now. You're only $400 away from your goal. You can make it. But I see that I have 25 days left. But all I'm thinking is, why aren't people pledging?
It really is. It's weird too, because you're waiting for that like Pavlovian bell to go off with like, bing, you got a new backer. Like you just like it's like a self-esteem boost. It's an incredibly stressful thing that I think some people do realize. I think other people who are just trying to get into it, they don't realize the capacity of it. All right, we are spinning the racks. And what that means is this is our comic book centric segment. So what are you reading right now and what is inspiring you to make comics?
That's another good question. Oh, and now I get what you mean by spinning the racks. I had no idea what you meant before.
All right, there you go.
Okay, I got you now. I got you. All right. That honestly, it's one of the biggest questions I get is what am I reading? Because I'm an indie guy, but I read DC and Marvel like crazy. I've been loving the X-Men relaunch. Powers of 10, House of X, very good, Jonathan Hickman. I loved his Secret Warriors arc, but this is topping that, and that's hard for me to say because I loved Secret Warriors. But very fun. Love the depth that it's going into with the characters and just the changing paradigm. Another book that doesn't get enough credit is Champions. Love Champions. Great book. It's getting canceled sadly, but it's supposedly coming back next year, so I can wait. But
that's the YA one, right? Though I think it's all the YA characters, like the younger characters.
It's got Kamala Khan, Riri Williams, Miles, the newer version of Power Man, all of them. It started out with this great idea of just teens saving the world from non-supervillain threats, and then obviously the supervillains came in, but it was just this great idea, and they worked so well, and like these are the kind of new ideas that really help shake things up, and I love that. For DC, basically all the Batman books. Okay. Not afraid to say that, but Shazam, love the Shazam comic. Jeff Johns is my hero, no doubt. Let's see. Power Rangers, love the Power Rangers comics. Mighty Morphin and Go-Go.
Are they still out?
Want to write those? Oh heck yeah! They're super popular.
Who's doing that?
Power Rangers is never going to
IDW.
You tell Hassan. Ryan Perot is doing both the Mighty Morphin and the Go-Go series right now. Okay. So I love it. I've been a Power Rangers fan since a kid. I still have my original Dragon Dagger, and so having them in comic book form, just fleshing out the stories even more, is just love it so much. But. All
right, last question, and you mentioned this, you're a big DC guy, that you prefer the DC films to the Marvel films, which I can be on board with, but how do you justify Batman v Superman to Civil War any day? I don't know how that happens.
That's right, you did ask me that question. That was my hot take. And first of all, I want to emphasize, and I know I'm pretty sure you've heard me say this on my show on Facebook, but everyone has their own opinion. And that can never be taken away from you. So if you like Civil War for Batman v Superman, that's fine. If you like Batman v Superman over Civil War, that's fine. I can define Batman v Superman versus Civil War in one argument. How can this be resolved in the smallest amount of time? Civil War is about the Avengers, who at this point was on, movie 16, 17, something like that? So they've had a lot of history together. And you're telling me that Tony and Steve couldn't have just stopped at the airport, talked for 5 minutes, explained what he was doing with Bucky, and realizing, we're getting played here. No, because we got to have the big airport fight. Yeah, right. Versus Batman v Superman, which is Batman doesn't trust Superman. Superman despises what Batman is like in terms of his vigilanteism, and they're two opposing forces. It makes sense that they fight. Versus Civil War, which, unlike the comics, which had a very, very fleshed out reason for going to war with each other, it didn't have that because they had a 2.5-hour movie.
Sure.
So for me,
that was the original argument I had about it.
And it's usually you're both wrong. Actually,
because at one point in the story, to prove his point, at one point when they find out what the situation is, Steve says to Falcon, "Should we tell Tony?" And the Falcon's like, "Yeah, he won't believe us. Let's go to the airport and have a fight." And that's literally how the sequence goes. Hey, we'll buy it.
Here's the thing. I actually can't disagree with you because Civil War is not one of my favorite films. No. And not necessarily, yes, for all the reasons you kind of mentioned, but also the fact that Baron Zemo's ultimate plan, fell to a lot of I
hate him.
Things for happenstance to have just happened to happen, that Tony doesn't have a VCR and this and that. So to me, it was the most implausible.
It would have always, like all things, it would have been better if you didn't put the evil mastermind in it. It was just it's just a series of mistakes, like the perfect storm of mishaps that caused them all to fight. You didn't have to have
which is what happens in the comic, because it was the New Warriors and an explosion incident. It wasn't the death of Wakanda's king. It was was fine in context. Guy bringing Black Panther, loved that. Right. Chadwick Boseman, great guy, but again, Baron Zemo was he's not only a soldier and like a black ops guy, he's a master computer guy.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I know. No, that movie has tons of flaws. I agree.
Yes.
So does Batman v Superman. All right.
And I'll admit that movie has flaws too. To be honest, there are movies I love on both sides, and there are movies I don't like on both sides. That's just how these things work. But
I like the you picked a good Marvel film to contrast against Batman v Superman, because I think Civil War has one of the weakest plots. So I commend you. I commend you for strategically getting us a hot
take. You do remember that the creators, the Russo brothers, said that they made Civil War because they found out about Batman v Superman.
No, I did not know that.
They said that. They was like, because Batman v Superman was announced first, then they announced Civil War, because they're like, well, if they're going to do Batman versus Superman, we got to go big, and all we got left is Civil War. So,
interesting. All right.
Their words.
That explains why that movie was thrown together so haphazardly.
Probably.
Hi-oh!
Probably. All right, Todd, tell everyone where they can find you and where they can find your Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.com, and search Tokyo Blade Detectives. I really hope you'll pledge. We got a lot of great rewards in there, including getting drawn to the comic, getting t-shirts, all of my comics sent to you physically or digitally. Plenty there. I'm on Facebook at author Todd Black, Twitter at Guardians_comic, same for Instagram. And I also have a YouTube channel called Todd Talk. So look that up.
All right, Todd Black, thank you for spinning the racks. Next week, we welcome back to the show Mr. Brian Volkweis from The Toys That Made Us. We'll see you guys next week.